Good afternoon. The much anticipated Galaxy S10's user interface has been leaked and it's beautiful. Real fast, to whom it may concern, I don't mention it very often, but I split the channel up into the tech stuff, which is what you see here, and then another one where I put videos that are just for fun, and the link to that is down there too. To those who would say that Samsung is always super slow to come out with their version of the new versions of Android, Android P's been out for about a month or so, and we're already seeing beta builds leaked for the upcoming S10. So I'm impressed, and that's kind of like sticking it to the naysayers, if you will. All the pictures and all the information that I'm about to tell you and show you have come from xdadevelopers.com. It's a whole article complete with the video with more information and actually seeing it work in real time. And the link to that is where you would expect it to be in the description. A first look at this, it looks like dark mode is being used a lot. Samsung's going back to black. Even though you can set black or very dark themes in Samsung themes already, you were never able to change the color of the notifications in the pull down, like the notification shade. Now they're dark. A very common and very new theme, and one that I personally welcome, is when you swipe down from the quick settings, it shows like this big banner here. Big banner that shows you where you are and what time it is, and like it clearly like hits you in the face with what part of the phone that you're in, including the quick settings in the pull down menu. This way it makes it to where, I mean, obviously we're not holding our phones from the top, so if the quick settings are being brought down, then it just means they're going to be more accessible. I really like this. Also, similarly to the blue light filter, they're enabling the dark mode. See, all the stuff that we're seeing right now, everything is dark. And there's also an option in settings to where you can turn on dark mode or night mode, and where you can set it on a schedule, or where it will automatically turn to dark mode, I'm guessing at sunset, the same way as the same way that the blue light filter works. Samsung Internet is getting a big update. They moved the backward and forward buttons, the home button, there we go, the tab selection, and the menu button all down closer to the bottom, because we hold our phones from the bottom. Easier to reach. I really like this change, and it looks a heck of a lot cleaner. From what I can tell now, the only buttons that are at the top are obviously the address bar, the star button to save it as either a favorite or a bookmark, and the refresh button, which can be also reached by just swiping down, as you most likely already know. Next is what some may consider disappointment, and what others may consider a kind of counter-argument to those who state that it doesn't matter who did it first, it matters who did it better. And that's going to be the new camera interface. With the S9, S9 Plus, and Note 9, they already made it to where a sideways swipe will change the modes, and the mode selector were up at the top. With this iteration, they're at the bottom. Very similar, or some might even say just like, the iPhones. Naturally, when I first saw this, I was like, no! Man, come on! It's like handing a reason for people to bitch at Samsung for copying Apple to them on a silver platter. It's like, hey, here you go, check out what we just did. And many will react to it that way. This new way to switch camera modes does clean up the interface, admittedly, yes. And it does not take away any of your control. Like, Pro Mode is still there. You still have control over all those different parameters that you did before. It's just down closer to the bottom, closer to your thumbs. Here's the counter argument. For those that are of the mind that it doesn't matter who does it first, but who does it better, Apple may have had the idea before Samsung did, but Samsung just did it better. And as you can see in this picture, it shows an option for tree shots or flower shots, which suggests that you will have macro or micro photo control, which might be an ability that third lens on the back allows you to have. So it's highly indicative of the new camera tricks that Samsung is going to have up their sleeve. The camera settings and the phone settings themselves are now divided into sections. I really like where they're going with this. Because they have the sections divided up into visible blocks, if you will, I think this makes it easier to differentiate between the setting sections that you're looking for, and it doesn't all look quite so, here's the entire list, find what you need somewhere in here. Those blank or black spaces between the sections kind of give your eyes a sense of where you are, or it's easier to, what's the word? It's like it gives you a better sense of direction, or you're more aware of where in the list you are. I don't know. It's like a subconscious thing. I like it. Also, the system settings have been condensed as well. So you have fewer options in the opening page of settings than you did before. And then once you tap on display, more things have been grouped into that. Or if you tap on security, more things have been grouped into that. Some people may like that and some people won't, but I think what they're going for is making the settings menu less overwhelming to those new to the platform. And you know me, I encourage the shit out of that. On the capture button, they did remove the ability to tap and drag to zoom in or zoom out. I liked that a lot, because you know, if you're holding it with one hand, you can't like hold it like this and then try to like no, it's way easier just to be able to like to control the zoom. I hope that in this early beta build, that's just something they hadn't added yet, because I don't want to see it go away. As I mentioned before, a very heavily recurring theme is there's this big place, blank space that just says messages or settings or Bixby Home or app info. It's just, I think what they're trying to do, I mean, I don't know. I like it just because it's a change. I like it when things get changed up. It's like something new to absorb, something new to be like, ooh, what is this? I feel like it will be met with very mixed feelings. Some people are going to hate it and think it's dumb. But considering that it goes away as soon as you start swiping up and it doesn't take up the entirety of the screen the whole time, because that would be stupid, I like it. Especially if it turns out that we have more control over it than just it being black and then there's that. It's a refreshing change, in my opinion. Android P introduced a navigation system that's a lot more gesture-centric than previous versions. So Samsung has also done this, but put their own spin on it. The navigation bar settings are where they were before, but now, you know how before when you could hide the navigation bar, but as soon as you swiped up, it would appear again. This time, they have it where you can have the navigation bar showing at all times, or if you hide it, then when you swipe up, it depends on where on the bottom of the screen you swipe up from. So if you swipe up from the bottom, it's going to go home. If you swipe up from the left, depending on how you have the back and recents button or buttons arranged, it'll go to recents or back, 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 back. So being able to take this and just go with your thumb like back, 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 instead of tapping something. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. It's a way to get rid of all of the on-screen navigational buttons and still have the back button and the recents button and all that good stuff. And unlike some other companies, if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. They don't shove it down your throat like some other companies. Another thing that is cause for mild concern, but I don't think anybody should freak out about it yet because this is a very early build, is that you don't have a whole lot of access at all to battery usage data. It's not, you don't have a way to see how long the screen's been on, like screen on time. I know that that's a huge metric that a lot of people judge the battery life of phones by, for good reason, because if, you know, that's when you're using it, it's when the screen's on. Or power usage or battery usage on a per app basis, you don't see any of that in this particular build. I don't think anybody should start picketing with signs yet until we see what they come up with and what they add or don't add in the final version. So if they keep it that way, that's gonna suck. But I really don't think they will. I'd be shocked if they kept that feature out of it. As for the recent app interface, they're now in vertical windows that scroll by this way, which is gross. It's so Apple despicable. It's not even that efficient. You know, you could see more of your recent apps when it was like these cards that swiped this way or that scrolled this way than you can with the stupid iPhone user interface that they're now adopting, but it's not Samsung's fault. It's actually Google's, because they're the ones who put it in Android P. So let's at them and then hope that Samsung will provide apps like Good Lock or something that can allow you to change it back to the way it should be, because Apple's way of doing it sucks. Once you go into the recents, options for opening an app in a pop-up window or opening in a split screen, things of that nature are in a drop-down menu at the top, which is okay. It just groups everything else together. The video that I saw didn't really go very far into that part of it, so I don't have a whole lot to say about that, but I mean, okay, cool, I suppose. One thing that I think Samsung should, and I believe are, is that the right R is? Doing is making things prettier. Because most of the time, when you hear iOS users about Samsung, it's that iOS is smooth. Smooth this, smooth that, prettier, looks better. The prettier something is, the better we perceive it to work, at least as far as operating systems go. And I've noticed that they're starting to put more uniform animations in as far as the transitions go, and they're starting to put it in smaller places. In the video, for example, you see him go into the default apps settings and change it from Samsung's launcher to Nova launcher. And when he did, just that little bitty menu, the way it appeared and then went back after he made his selection, there was something a little different about it. And I noticed that it's very, very subtle, but I noticed that in a lot of the menus and transitions and app openings and closings that he was going through during the video. So I really hope that now that Samsung has a lot more power than they used to as far as driving eye candy stuff, that they'll start adding more to it to make it just... And one thing I was extremely excited about is now we finally have lift to wake. Pardon me while I wait for the Apple users to lose their minds saying that Apple's had it already. That's long enough. Yes, they did have it already. Is it a convenient feature? Yes. Did Apple have it before we did? Sure. Shoot me. It's cool. I like it. All right. It's a welcome addition, even if we didn't implement it before they did. More details and all the screenshots that you see here are, again, down in the description in that link, and I loved that it had like a whole article and then a whole video of this guy going through all the menus and stuff and just showing what's new, what hasn't changed, what has changed. Once more, keep in mind that nothing you see here is final. They could move things, they could add things that aren't there and should be, and yada yada. Now for an appreciation for the Scotties on Patreon. These lovely people pay anywhere from $10 to $15 a month, and they are Unit Omega, Anthony Jackson, Christopher Caswell, Sin O, Eric Price, Josh Utley, Tyler, Nick Hawks, Spidget, Stephen Nichols, and Stuart Glover.
I stay with my Scotties. My Scotties are my boys. I ride with them. And I put that on the generation.
And for the Beamers, the ones that pay $1 to $2 a month, we have David Larson, Excelsior, and Encrypted Bunny. Stay hyped for these beautiful new things and stay beaming. This looks a little crooked. I'll just go some. Oh, never mind. It's not even there anymore. All the this. Next is counter argument to those accusing Samsung might be where, or files or all the system core apps. We're just going to get rid of that part. Especially if we have Android P introduced a navigation. It's the more we perceive, or pardon me,